So in this tutorial, I'll show you how to create a comment section with AI. So no coding or downloads. To make this, we'll be able to write a comment like, "Hey guys," send it, see it pop up by an imaginary character. Now, what's also cool is I'll show you how to save changes to the comment section so they pop up even if you leave the page and come back. Now, you can get started by going to the setup project, link in the description. Once you open it, you'll be on Rosebud, where you can remix with the click of a button to make your own version. And there, you can work with me and our AI, Rosie, to do the project. What's also cool is the assets tab. All of the images for our made-up characters are ready to go. So the first thing we'll do is create a comment, and this will be like the building block for the comment section, right? So a comment is made out of the profile picture, name, timestamp, text. And visually, we can think about it like there's a top row with everything except the text, which would be below it. So I'll go to Rosie and tell her create a container for a single comment, and the comment will have a row containing the profile picture, name, and timestamp, and below that will be the text of the comment. Send it. And Rosie will do the coding, reading through my marvelous typos to make something awesome. So now we have a comment in our section. Right, so the next thing I want to do is add another comment to the page. And the simplest way to do that would be telling Rosie, create another comment. That would probably make someone up with a new profile picture, name, and so on. Well, what could go wrong? Well, the secret is that our app would get really unorganized. And the best way I can show you that is by turning on X-ray vision. So, to do it, you can right-click the page, brings up this menu, go to the bottom, left-click Inspect. This brings up something called the Developer Tools. There's a toolbar at the bottom. You can go to the left side and then click this button. Now, whenever you go over anything on the page, like the comment container, you can see that what it's called, and you can also see how it's like highlighted. There's a lot going on here. The most important thing is right now we have this other container. It should be saying the content container. That's what it's called. And what it does is holds everything in the app. So right now it holds the comment container. If we add another comment, it gets added to this thing that should hold, should not hold individual comments, because then everything gets messy. So what we instead want is something like an invisible box around all the comments. And you can tell Rosie to do that by saying, create a container that holds all the comments. And we can give it a name. So, called the comments list. Now, that last thing is to make it look nice. And right now, we have a comment container and the content container that all have this white background, so they don't really stand out. You can fix it by telling Rosie, make the content container have a darker background color, and then you can send it. So here we are. You can see Anna Kim has joined our party. And just to check, I'm going to bring up the X-ray again. Doing the same buttons. Go down here, left click. And what I want to look for is that comment list. So I can go between the comments. Ah, there it is. The invisible box. So now things are much more organized for the next step. So it would be really cool if we could add our own comments. The thing that's a little tricky is right now in our app, we had a way to add comments. Who would they be from? Well, none. There is no current user. So what we can do is tell Rosie to create a current user, and then we can put what makes the current user, like what does a user have? Well, profile picture, name, right? And also some unique number, so you know who is who. So I'll say the current user should have an ID, name, and profile picture. Then we want to see this is working, so we could add a comment. I'll tell Rosie, add a comment from the current user. We need a way to distinguish the user, the comment from me from other people, so we could have a badge. I'll say display a badge that says you next to the username or their comments. Now we can send that and see a comment from ourselves. So that's me, Kimberly. Who are you? Maybe you're Mark. Well, regardless, we now have a way to for our app to recognize who we are, and that's gonna make it easier to add our own comments. But before we move on, there's an issue where we have code for the comments and the users, right? We have multiple of those, but it's really messy. If you go under the hood, and that's what Rosie's doing every single step, she has to look at all of this code for like the visuals, and that makes it really hard for her to make changes to the app. So we can reorganize it by creating a class or a blueprint for each comment and for each user. We can start by telling them create a comment class with what does a comment have? So it has content for the text, a user. How does it know the user? Well, we could say every user has an ID, so user ID, and also what else? It should have its own ID. An ID. Then we can send that to Rosie, and she'll fix everything up. Okay, so now Rosie has made this comment class and our code is working with it. So much more organized. I created a class, right? Think of that as a blueprint for comments because we have many of them, right? And it's the same goes for the users. They should all work in the same way. So we can tell Rosie, create a class or called user, and use it for all the user info throughout the app. Alright, so now we have reorganized all that code, and it's perfect time to move on to adding a form so that we can then have a way to type in our messages and then send them into the comment section. Okay, so I want to create this one, and I'll give you a little example. So I should be able to write a message and then send it. And then another one pops up. So that's perfect. Alright, cut it. Shut. Let's go again. Alright, so I want to create a form for adding comments. And here's a little example. We should be able to write our message in this text box, go down here, send it, and now we see the message pops up on the current user. Let's get back here and tell Rosie how to do it. So say create a comment form with a multi-line text box. Multi-line because, you know, we need room to write all of our fancy thoughts that drag on endlessly. No. Add and a send button. No, let's do the next then. Is like, once we have a send button, what happens when we send it? Well, sending the form creates a new comment from the current user. And it should be everything, right? Well, not exactly. Because where would it go? In the example, we have it at the bottom. And something very important is if you scroll through your comment section, it stays at the bottom. In the biz of web app development, we call that fixing something to the bottom. So that's the term we'll use. Fix the comment form to the bottom of the main container. That's called the content container. And send it. So now we have a form, and that's great because I can say, hey, I'm Kim. Hopefully, if I send it, everyone could hear me, but nothing happened. But why? First clue is that an error message didn't pop up. Normally, if your app breaks, that's what you'd see. So, what's most likely happening is that Rosebud, the app itself, has a setting that prevents forms like this comment from being submitted, from things happening once they're submitted. Just don't happen because of the app. What do we do? Well, it's actually not too bad. There's just, instead of making the comment get added when the form is submitted, which is prevented by the app, we can just tell Rosie to add comments when the button send is clicked, instead of relying on the submission of the comment form. Alright, so now you should be able to click the send button and see, hey, it's my comment. Okay, so one last thing I want to show you is that our page doesn't save our awesome changes. So this comment section goes back to basics whenever we refresh it. That's pretty weird, right? The simplest way to get around that is to tell Rosie to save changes made to the comment section using local storage, which is lingo for the feature that will track the comments information or any information you want to save on the web page for this project. and that will do it for you, and it'll do it for anyone who uses your app. So Rosie is now saving the comments, which means if I say, hey Mark, and refresh the page, hey Mark is still there. It's pretty awesome. And that wraps up everything I want to show you for the comment section. It's coming together quite well.